fact, the only time it stops working in our behalf is when one takes their last breath. And what are we speaking of? The human heart. This evening we're going to discuss another very faithful, hand-picked apostle of Jesus, who again was not very prominent, yet very faithful, very hardworking, very approachable. Now, if we were to try and name the faithful 12 apostles by memory, we might get down to 10, 11 before we think of this one. We'll think of Peter, James, and John, Matthew, doubting Thomas, even the hard names like Bartholomew, maybe even the apostle that took the place of the unfaithful Judas Iscariot, Matthias, before we come across the name Andrew. But Andrew was such a man, and we're going to learn from him today. Andrew was the brother of the apostle Peter, but Andrew was the first one to become a disciple. In fact, he followed John the Baptizer as John laid the way for Jesus. He was there when John the Baptizer saw Jesus coming and said, "See, the Lamb of God that takes away sin from the world." In fact, he and another disciple, not his brother James, followed Jesus to his home, and before long was convinced that he truly was the Messiah. And then he returned, got his brother, and introduced his brother to becoming a disciple. And of course, the two of them had a fishing business where they were very successful, but again, they became hard-working disciples. In fact, Jesus eventually came to them maybe 6 months to a year later and gave them a proposition, invited them. Let's read together what this was. Turn with me, if you will, to Matthew chapter 4, and notice verse 18. Rather, let's read instead John chapter. Okay, let's make that mark. Turn to Mark chapter 1, and we're going to read verses 16 and 17. And there it says, "While walking alongside the Sea of Galilee, he saw Simon," this is Jesus, "and Simon's brother Andrew," Simon being Peter, of course, "casting their nets into the sea, for they were fishermen. So Jesus said to them, 'Come after me, and I will make you fishers of men.'" Now, how did they respond? There are quite a few in the Gospels accounts of this, so I wasn't sure which one we're going to read, because they didn't take long. Another account said they immediately abandoned their business and became fishers of men, following Jesus Christ. And again, he wasn't very prominent in his own heart, in his own way, but yet he was always among the first four mentioned in the apostolic lists in Scripture, always. And notice some of his privileges. When Jesus fed the 5,000 men along with others, it was Andrew who saw the little boy and said, "Look, a little boy with 5 loaves of bread, 2 small fishes. How are we going to feed this crowd?" It was Andrew. Again, as we mentioned, he was there when John the Baptist announced Jesus as the Lamb. He also was at the last Passover, and it was Philip that went to Andrew to ask him his opinion on an issue or problem that came about. And it was Andrew among the 4 who were sitting on the Mount of Olives with Jesus, asking when would be the end of this system and the sign that the conclusion is here. So all that prominence he had, yet he himself was not prominent, not haughty, humble, hardworking, faithful. So after hearing his example, we should all ask ourselves, brothers and sisters, am I going to be not prominent, yet faithful and approachable?